What's the poll?
How's it going, mortals? Nice to have you here with us. I'm Zach. I've got Steven. This is actually, Steven, our final Mondays in the Mortal Realms of 2023. So it's been quite a year. Going back to streaming games over at Titans, and now we're here. We're excited for 2024. We'll have, in 2024, we'll have a little bit of a, probably kind of a super big announcement early on, but we won't say much else other than that regarding Mondays in the Mortal Realms, regarding this show and what's going to happen to this show.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, let's jump into the game itself that we love so much, Age of Sigmar. A lot of stuff from Warcom. First of all, we would be remiss, I'll say, if we didn't talk about the Advent calendar. So let's talk about the Advent calendar. Steven, I think we are... I have a theory about some of the things in the Advent calendar.
Okay.
I think we are on the cusp of a Night Haunt release.
Really?
I do. Okay. Hear me out. Okay. Unfortunately, I don't have something for us set here to draw on screen. I should have set that up. The lantern. Okay.
Right. Sure.
Second row, last column.
Yeah.
Okay. Evidence 1. Okay. Now the skull, I don't think. I mean, the skeleton at the start of the third row here. I don't know. You said you think it feels cities to you. I'm not sure.
It's cities or like Deathcore of Krieg. It's some kind of like.
There's like 5. Oh no, that might be brambles. Okay.
Yeah, I think they're brambles.
Okay. All right. Now the book we know is Nurgle.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not submitting this one, but flask of ghostly hand with flask.
Yes.
Okay, I think lantern, ghostly hand with flask, and this one right here to the right of number 20. We see a lot of several Night Haunt characters are already carrying large pieces of their execution equipment with them and stuff. So that's kind of the vibes I'm getting. That's why I think we might be on the cusp of a Night Haunt release.
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Some of these were not too subtle. There's a bomb. What do you think the bomb is?
Where's the bomb? Oh right, yeah. Little bomb with a fuse
bomb.
lit.
That's interesting, right?
Yeah.
The bolter, not too.
Yeah, I mean there's the sword as well. I'm assuming they're both from some kind of Space Marine hero.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a big storm bolter. That sword looked huge.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Space Marine of some flavor.
It's maybe who are the...
There's Deathwing, right? They announced Deathwing recently.
They did.
So there's probably this could be a Dark Angel character.
Yeah.
A new sculpt of a famous Dark Angel that I don't know about.
Yeah. So anyway, there's also a horse here showed up in the past week. Maybe horse.
Or the back of a centaur.
Hooves, or the back of a centaur. Or the front of a horse, but upside down.
True.
Yeah.
Some horse legs on some kind of Chaos Spawn mutation thing.
Yeah.
They could just be sticking out of the back or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it could be anything. And then today's actually appears to be some kind of monster mouth.
Yeah, it looks like a mouth, right? Again,
I
have no idea.
Yeah, we really don't.
Looks AOS-y just because it doesn't look like a Tyranid or some kind of chaosy thing. Could be a giant Kroot.
Could be a giant Kroot.
Who knows? Cool. Who knows?
Yeah.
Big monster mouth.
Yeah. I don't know, but my current theory is that we are the only theory I have of any of this.
Yeah.
I'm with you that there's a Space Marine thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, of course.
That's you could almost just guess that. Right?
Yeah.
But I'm also positing that there is a Night Haunt situation afoot.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely getting more single heroes for the Dawnbringer Crusade books. So, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
There could be hey, guess what? Here's another 5-wound ghost hero that does some kind of buffing or debuffing because there's 30 of them. So why not just throw another one on the pile?
Nighthaunt are interesting. I actually sort of feel like it's a pretty good line. It's a pretty thorough line. Maybe they need a monster.
Yeah, a monster. I mean, really, they just need to make the coach good. Just make the coach good.
Make the coach good.
Yeah, a big ghost.
No,
like a big
the
spooky
line,
ghost.
Rules wise, the line needs help.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
I think for me it wasn't in this past go. It wasn't a miss. It wasn't as much of a miss as there.
It feels.
I think 2 books were totally screwed up, as you know.
Yeah.
Your Bone Reapers, I think. I think the book's just messed up, internal balance wise and stuff, and Skaven. I think
and Skaven because they just didn't get anything.
Nighthaunt, I think, are the next tier up. Like, they almost are.
The new mechanic was cool. They're like charging in and doing debuffs, but the book is basically pick which unit you want to spam the book, and that's all it is, and it feels kind of bad.
It's encourages weird builds.
Yeah,
and then I don't know. Whenever I play against Nighthaunt, they do their thing, they charge in, and they're like, "Oh, I got you now, man!" And like they go through everything, and like, "Okay, 4 damage." I'm like, "What?"
Yeah, it's also really super dependent on it's an army that depends purely on dice rolls, because if they get all their charges off and they get big charges, they're laughing because they're like debuffing you. They're like rend 5. They're like you're striking last.
No, rend is an issue for them. They can't. They don't have very many pluses to rend.
Well, they do if they do the charges, because one of the charges is they get rent.
No, it's fight last.
Yeah.
You're -1 to hit. Oh yeah, you're -1 to save.
And it can stack, so they just get loads of charges off, and it's a 4-up unrendable save. So if the dice go their way, the army is ridiculous.
Yeah,
but it's all dependent on those 2 dice factors. If you're passing 4-ups and if you're getting charges.
I don't know. I guess all this is to say I don't know what I want model line wise. I want things like the weird ones that come in units of 4 that have like the no rend 2 damage sickle.
Yeah, the scythe guys.
Yeah, like I want things like that to be cool and good.
Yeah, they don't really have an elite infantry. They just have
absolutely
infantry.
No, and I think that might sort of be by design.
And they don't have cavalry. They have like 1 unit of cavalry that's the old unit from the old vampire counts that no one uses.
Purely I mean, they're one of the best units in the game. They have a 24-inch move. That's one of the 24-inch fly move. Like that's incredible.
They are super quick.
But the army feels like it just needs rule. Yeah, maybe a monster. I can't fathom what they could possibly do with more special characters. I
don't know. But you are probably right. There is probably a Nighthaunt character just gonna drop.
I literally feel like this lantern and this bottle could be the same.
I think we could be seeing the start of either, I think maybe a new expansion for the Sylvaneth in the Kornothi worshippers. Like there's a couple in here that kind of tell me that we might get those added to that range, and that'd be interesting. Like the hooves, the antlers. I'm like, that could be fun. That could be exciting, because I think that'd be a cool way for them to expand that range, flesh out that army. Because I feel like it's a popular army, and I feel like it could do with a little bit of an expansion. Like the one it got this year was really good.
Sylvaneth.
Yeah, the Sylvaneth expansion was really cool. The range expansion.
Yeah.
The coolest one for me and the most intriguing is the hand, right? It's that weird clawy hand
down at the bottom.
Yeah, like no idea what that is. Probably a heresy demon of some description, because that's a whole range that they just haven't even touched yet.
We're also saying you pointed out last week, maybe this isn't a hand, it's got the hook, but
yeah, it's weird, but that's the most intriguing one to me of like what could it possibly be.
Yeah.
But they usually do a reveal show early in the new year, right?
Vegas.
Which we'll be at.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll go watch it.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
So there we go. We won't know what's happening with the rest of them. Do they
do a Christmas Day reveal. There's always a Christmas Day reveal.
A big reveal.
There's always like a big reveal.
I'm sure. I'm guessing Dark Angels are going to be front and center on that.
My probably.
Prediction, yeah. Okay, fun. Now the other two other pieces of fun news. One, they released today that they kind of an interesting article from them about they're moving forward with these Amazon shows, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
This has been in stasis a lot. We kind of get a little bit of news and then we don't hear anything for months. And this is pretty big now. Apparently, these shows are going to be happening. My guess is that almost for sure, we pretty much know it'll be Warhammer 40K. They say as much. I don't know what we're gonna get. I'm very cautiously optimistic, I would say, about the quality of it. I think there's a lot of missteps that could be made, and I almost want a bingo card and want to see which ones they avoid. And
Yeah, I mean, you know, the entertainment industries move incredibly slow, and like, yeah, last year they announced this was a thing. This year they've announced the contracts have been signed.
now
The
they're
next
announcing it might be 2 to 3 more years,
Yeah.
which sounds fair.
Yeah, I think the next announcement might be the creative team behind it. They'll be like, hey, here's the people that we assembled to do this. Like,
Right.
the writers, the directors, what have you, because I think and that's probably maybe this time next year I could see that being announced.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's exciting, I guess, like to see these universes start to, be explored in new forms. But yeah, I would encourage people to not get too excited because this is the start of a very long journey, and they've got a long way to go, and it's probably going to be a while before you hear anything and see anything. So it's weird that they announced this, because I think this is kind of a weird non-announcement.
It is a bit of a non-announcement.
Like this is this is very behind closed doors kind of thing, like the contracts being signed and stuff. So yeah,
I'm cautiously optimistic, but we have left. I'm 41. We have left. I bring up my age because we kind of went through a golden era of dramas and TV shows. I think we're out of it now. I think when your big streaming channel of choice releases a new show, it's kind of hit or miss. A lot of them are miss. I mean, I think there's pretty mixed results on the Lord of the Rings one. I don't. It's not universally this was great. So I'm nervous.
Yeah,
but
I think you've got right to be nervous. I don't think I've watched a few of the things they put out on the Warhammer TV app.
Mm-hmm. It's
pretty okay.
They're pretty okay.
And they take, but I think they've learned a lot of lessons from going through that process themselves, of like how long these things take, like the creative process, and like when to pivot and when to throw stuff out, and what the pre-visualization process should look like to get to something great, because creating anything like this is always about iteration. So it's like they do need to try some stuff, throw it out, try some more stuff, which again is why I'm saying don't expect to be watching a movie in 2 years, because chances are they'll probably write something and then pre-visit and then scrap it and start something else, because they don't want to put something out that isn't going to be up to quality. Amazon, to their credit, have put out a lot of high quality content in their own independent productions, and I think they don't want to lower that bar. So I think whatever we do get, I would hope would be, considering how much money is likely being thrown at this and how many creatives are going to be involved, I would hope that the end result will be they will only put something to screen that they are absolutely proud and confident of.
So we've heard that it might be Eisenhorn, the Eisenhorn series.
I think that's just people dreaming,
taking a big guess. It's sort of like guessing that new Space Marines are going to come out. It's like it's kind of the obvious guess, but it might be not right.
I mean, I think if you were going to take a big wild swing like that, I think the Heresy is way more likely, because it's been a New York Times best-selling series for decades. It's like the books have sold tens of millions of units.
Right.
It has an established audience. It's a piece of the fiction that is kind of locked in its own stasis bubble, so it isn't impacting anything else.
And it's set. It's got
a start, and all the characters are figured out, and it is very compelling, space opera drama, the brotherly rivalries and the downfall. I think it's got a lot of that drama you would want in a show, where you don't have to be an expert in this universe. You can sort of jump in, and kind of go, if they did the first trilogy following Gabriel Loken, the whole point is he's inducted into the Mournival, and it's kind of you're along for the ride with him as he experiences more of the inner workings of a legion and the brotherhood and stuff like that. So if I was putting money, that's what I'd put money on.
I don't know what I'd want to see. I think the opening trilogy is very interesting. I've said before, I've chatted with I think this has come up with you, but I know Saray and Brett and I've had this conversation. I really hope they resist the urge to include orcs in the original in whatever they do. It's not that I don't like orcs. It's just it's going to be a tough sell. Lord of the Rings in space is going to be what I think they need to avoid. So they need to be super careful about how they depict.
Yeah, it depends what way they go. You know, like because again, I think you're right. I think the age of like the really serious sort of like film style TV show, like you know, the continuous narrative show.
Yeah.
I think they still exist, but I think they are. I think there's now a balance being found where serialized TV is coming back, where people do kind of want to watch it week to week. It's kind of like a new adventure.
Yeah.
So there's three paths here. There's do movies, do features, do serialized TV where it's just villain of the week stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like do the long continuous narrative.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, all of them have pros and cons, and I'm very curious to see which they end up gravitating towards.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be because I could totally see them doing like, hey, we're just gonna do a rogue trader crew. It's like Firefly but grimdark, and they're on new adventures, flying around the galaxy, encountering weird aliens and stuff like that.
Could be okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, because it gives you a way to get into this massive universe without having to like digest all of it at once.
I mean, that's kind of Mandalorian, right?
Exactly. Yeah, keep it low, and this is why the you know, not to start breaking this down and analyzing it, but this is why. A lot of fantasies follow in that Tolkien model of start small and grow bigger, right?
Yeah.
You start in the Shire with a hobbit who's just doing his own thing,
right.
and then he learns about this thing, he goes on a little adventure, and then the adventure grows and grows and grows as you go with it.
Yeah.
They don't just go, here is the universe, like, figure it out. They take you from small and they grow bigger, and it's a model that works for audiences because it allows them to understand and digest the strangeness that you're proposing to them as a reality.
Right. Yeah.
So I think them going away like that would be smart, right?
Yeah. I think I'd love to see if they do 40K world. I think Necrons are compelling villains. They've gone Necrons far enough away from Terminator that they're kind of their own cool, interesting thing. The demons, the Chaos Demon stuff that the world has set up is quite cool. I
think like Tyranids as well would be a good one. Everyone understands the hungry alien that just wants to eat everything. Like that's like a, you know, existential thing.
I think they have to be super careful with elves. With space elves.
Yeah, Eldar. I think Eldar will. I don't think Eldar would ever be a villain in these. I think Eldar will always be that reluctant ally that comes in occasionally to help.
Tau also work. But it's high sci-fi. It's like
Tau would be. I could see them more doing a show from the Tau perspective, right? And having Tau be because Tau are like pseudo good guys. They're not really one of the main threats, right?
Right. All of this would be interesting. I don't know what I want to see, but I kind of agree with you. I think I'd put my money on the Horse Heresy.
But then would it be a movie? Would it be a TV show? Like, what do you do? I mean, the universe is so big, and this is I think this is going to be the trickiest decision they're going to have to make is, what do you do when you've got a universe this big to play in? What do you laser focus and narrow down into and tell a compelling, emotional story that audiences can resonate with and relate to in this giant, epic sci-fi, you know, universe? So yeah, I'm super curious to see how they do that. Like, maybe they go the Stargate route. Maybe they start with a movie and then they do a TV show and they branch the TV show, and it's like, okay, now we're going to go deeper, and now we're going to explore more elements like week to week. But yeah, who knows? I'm waiting for my email though. I'm like, you know, they said they're assembling this crack team of expert writers who are I'm waiting for my email.
Steven,
I don't know when it's coming, but I'm checking it daily.
Okay. Now, the last thing, of course, we're going to talk about Sigmar, Fang of Nulamia. I think that's right. Nulamia.
So Zach, I got a question.
Yeah.
Did you have another on-foot vampire hero on your bingo list as things we would see in the closing weeks and hours and days of 2023? How many have we had this year?
Listen, I know. And to be fair, like, look what I put in the poll. We have a poll, which is, we're going to get to this, talking about what's coming in 2024. And Age of Sigmar, we think the 4th ed box set will include Stormcast. We want to know.
Again, we're making sensible guesses.
Making sensible guesses.
Like, guess what? 11th edition, it will have Space Marines in. I confidently can say that.
And you know what? 11th edition Age of Sigmar will probably have Stormcast.
Also Stormcast, yeah.
Okay, so I put Skaven and Beast of Chaos. I actually still kind of think it's Beast of Chaos.
What are you talking about?
I think it's going to be Beast of Chaos. Why is that funny? That line needs a mega refresh.
Yeah, do you know where it's getting it? In the old world. Because it's an army from the old world.
You don't think it's staying in Sigmar?
No.
Really?
No.
Where did this come from?
Look, right, okay.
We're going to talk about her in a
the
second.
two signs. The
Okay.
two signs that is not happening. One, they are still just called Beasts of Chaos. They haven't redefined them. They haven't renamed them to make them copyrightable. They're just the Beasts of Chaos.
Okay.
Pretty generic term. Not
Okay.
very Sigmar-y.
No, okay.
Second one is, they've not had a range refresh ever.
They got a little dude.
That's not a range refresh.
Not a range refresh.
Everyone gets little foot heroes. They haven't even had a sniff of a new range.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Don't you think that
No, because I think they're an old world faction.
So you think that like
Same reason I think ogres haven't had a major range refresh, because I think their refresh will come in old world because they are an old world faction. And then what they might do is some of those kits might be cross compatible. Like they might keep Ungors and Gors in AOS, but you will use the models that they do for Fantasy Battle. But the range refresh would come, I think, from Fantasy Battle, especially given the time period they've chosen to do the game.
Oh, right.
Because the Beasts of Chaos were a huge problem in that era.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Anyway, the other option I put here is Soulblight. I said God-specific Chaos faction. Doesn't look like chat is biting that one either. But Soulblight, I said, listen, at this point, if the new box was Stormcast versus Soulblight, I have to be honest with you, I wouldn't be that surprised.
I can't see it just based on where the story is right now. They just don't seem to be that pivotal a player. It would be a weird, like, kind of out of left field thing, because the books aren't alluding to Soulblight becoming this major threat.
Well, we haven't read this latest one. We haven't.
Well, they have said that, because like the fluff in this article is that she's basically the one that's infiltrated Usheran's court and has been siphoning his blood off and sending it to cities to corrupt people.
Yeah.
So like, they've clearly got a plan. Like, clearly Neferata's goal is she's going to undermine the cities of Sigmar by causing this kind of turbulence and this kind of friction within the cities and these problems that are going to weaken them.
Right.
Maybe for an attack, a large-scale attack from Soulblight. But then, usually when they do these factions, it is to time it with a big range refresh, right? Do you think Soulblight are on the cusp of just getting a brand new range? Like, I feel like they've just recently had their refreshes and they're not getting a new one.
I mean, I feel like... No, I feel like they don't need a range refresh, except for Graveguard.
Right, but they can do that.
But, okay. But, you know, they also, like... I think it's a popular faction. I think it's... I don't see... Sigmar factions are... and 40k is leveling out too, but you would look 5-10 years ago at 40k and you'd be like, wow, it's crazy. It's like all Space Marines. And it's like,
well, the difference is there's like 40 different flavors of Space Marines that skew the map.
But even then, it's like after that, it's like so much Tau.
Yeah.
And so and
Eldar,
right? AOS is way more evenly split.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But I do think
Everyone's got a faction.
Soulblight seems to be one of the most popular.
I think because they were a very popular army in fantasy battles, and their big refresh was awesome. When they got their big refresh, in AOS, it was really cool.
But also, if you just like undead, and you don't want to fuss with much more than I like undead, it's your army.
Yeah, it's classic.
Right.
It's like zombie dragons, zombies, necromancers, skelly-bobs, some cavalry. It's great, right? There's no weirdness to it. There's no it's actually one of the factions where there is the least Sigmar weirdness in it.
Absolutely.
It's very traditional.
She is pretty weird. She is actually maybe one of the weirdest things in this faction.
She is very Kemrian, and I love that about her. She's got a Kapesh as a weapon.
Yeah.
She's got this very ornate armor. She's got a snake for a pet. I'm like, this is like a Tomb King.
So this is what I'm thinking, right? I'm thinking that I would not be surprised to see like Legion of Blood in the box set versus whatever the new Stormcast is, right? I totally would not be surprised to see something like that. And yeah, they also use an opportunity to slip new Graveguard in. Boom, 10 Graveguard, and then
so you're saying more like Neferata specifically styled,
like a Neferata's court type thing.
Yeah, because we got the big range release was kind of around the new faction Virkos, which they added. So yeah, I could see them doing a Legion of Blood. I mean, I'd sigh and my eyes would
I
roll.
know.
Because I'm like, really?
But that's
Or the
kind
box set is all of these on-foot vampires just in a box fighting some Stormcast, because there's literally enough of them now to just do a starter box. You could just be like, it's the Court of Neferata.
You know,
Here's like 20 on-foot vampires.
We also don't really have no Manfred, Barry, no Manfred. We also don't really
They kill
have...
Manfred in the story.
Yeah,
He's dead
gosh,
now.
I hope so.
He's dead now.
Yeah,
Legion of Night are gone.
they don't really have we have True Blades, Skirking True Blades,
Which are awesome.
but we don't really have like a knighted foot vampire unit either. Still, and I don't know that we should, but we don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a unit of Blood Knights. Like
Kind of
on-foot
like
Blood Knights.
on foot Blood Knight, something like that.
Does it need it though? That's
Nah,
not what Graveguard are.
Not really,
But
but
Graveguard are
we
your
do-
elite.
I mean, do we need? Listen, look at the Stormcast Eternal book. Do we need a
Well,
lot of?
no.
Do we need any of this?
I think the hope would be it's Skaven, right? We all hope it's Skaven because Skaven really need a range refresh. They got the least altered book, which for me says that it was literally a stopgap book, and they knew that they'd get in a new book very quickly. So they're like, "There's no point changing any of this. There's no new kits yet. Let's just leave it as is. Put in what we need to." They're gonna get a brand new book with a brand new mechanical system, brand new models, and they're gonna pull that range down. That makes the most sense to me. But also this, I'm like,
you like my outsider theory, huh? You don't like it, but you know that.
No, I don't like it, but there is
But
some.
you're like,
There
"Oh,
is some.
God,
Yeah,
you might
there's
be
an
right."
element
I
of
know.
logic to it.
I know it's sad. I realized it too. I was making this poll up, and I was like, you know what? It might just be more Soulblight.
But it is interesting because we've had a starter set. We've had chaos, death, destruction. So now it really is anyone's game.
It
could be anyone
You
now.
think it could be Order? What Order faction would Stormcast fight?
Oh, if we're gonna get a new Stormcast,
It would be
Like
the Dark
range
Elves? Would it be like
and a new-
would it be like a Marathi Malarian?
don't tease me.
I know.
Don't tease
I just
me.
want
like was in my wildest dreams, it's a box where Stormcast are fighting Umbraneth. and
Yeah,
I'm just
they, like-
yes, give it to me. All of
Yeah,
this.
it's like a revolt in the cities.
Yeah, I
from
mean,
within,
I would
right?
love that. I would absolutely love that. But it ain't gonna be that.
No, it's not gonna be that.
I don't think
It's
they
not
would
gonna be
also
Order.
do. I don't think they would do a new faction in. Well, actually, they did Cruel Boys. So no, I'm lying there. They totally did Cruel Boys, which were a brand new subfaction.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Who knows?
Yeah. All I'm gonna say before we move on to our topic of the day here, with this snake lady is you can't just like add a snake lady from Neferata's like court and just be done with it.
Well, I mean, did you read the article?
No, it's super cool.
The article's awesome. So that isn't just a snake. That is like a literal
it
god
was the
snake
god
that
it's like-
Nagash
yeah,
that
yeah.
Nagash beat up and shrunk down and gave the avatar to her. Like,
Yeah.
here you go, good job.
I'm saying though that like you can't just toss this lady out there and be like, okay, that's cool for a little while. Like,
Of course you can.
you
Of course you
can,
can.
but you won't. Saray says, yeah, Vampire Footlords versus Primaris Lieutenants box set.
Oh yeah, that would be the
next
most one-sided box set ever. I imagine the vampires would all solo murder the Stormcast side.
No, wait. He says Primaris Lieutenants
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean,
because that's what they release. Primaris characters. And
that's true.
But it's wild, right? Because actually, you're right. Like we don't really get a lot of like here's your little Stormcast character. We don't get that.
There were a few.
But we've been getting these vampires.
Oh, there's so many vampires. It is
And
ridiculous.
it's not even just like vampires that are like this like the same model 3 times. It's even like Ivia.
Yeah, they're all
and
different.
now her. It's like named characters.
Well,
Or
I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Here's Curse City. It's 8 of them.
Well, I feel like maybe this was all because something happened with Curse City, because there's just so many named vampires, like unnecessarily named vampires, and I'm like, something must have happened.
I know. You could look at like Viracurs's family tree, and it's like almost this whole family tree is a model line.
Yeah. Well, but I love this model though. Like, don't get me wrong.
Oh,
this is a
she's super
beautiful
cool.
model.
It is cool to see a non-Viracruz thing.
Yeah.
And I am.
And I love the design, and like,
Yeah,
if
it's
we're gonna
amazing.
get like new like Neferata themed vampires, like Legion of Blood with a bit of sprinkling of old Khemri in there, just
Yeah.
to give them, I'm totally down. I think that'll look amazing.
We have in the world of 40K what we call transhuman. We have what we call baby transhuman,
Right.
which is 3s and higher. We have hit transhuman. What do we call it when you can only be hit on a 5 or 6?
I don't know.
Papa Grandpa.
I don't like this using transhuman. the whole
Grandpa
time.
hit transhuman. Mega hit transhuman.
I mean, I love the term serpentine agility.
It's
a good name
too
for
much.
it.
It's too much to say though. Serpentine. How do you feel about this Earl?
I think it's cool.
I think she's probably like
This is the kind of rule I want on Foot
Foot
Vampires to
Heroes.
have.
Yeah, that's what's gonna. I think this like I looked at this and I was like, that sounds like it's gonna be bad. My guess is she's gonna be 6 or 7, maybe 8 wounds, but because she's
maybe 7.
She
She's
looks
on
a
a
little-
biggish base.
she looks a little big. Like she's kind of tall, too. And she's on this base. The snake is there. She's probably
a cavalry base, right?
Yeah. This is like I think like a knight, not a This is like a chaos knight base. I think. I don't think this is a.
Yeah, like the oval.
Well, you can
the
see
oval...
her. You can see her next to wolves. Yeah, but sorry down here. I'm saying it's a fairly big one.
Oh,
so
it's a big cavalry base.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's
Oh wow, she is big.
she's big. She's tall.
I guess the Virkos vampires are pretty big though.
I mean, they literally talk about that's what a crypt horror is.
Yeah.
Is a crypt ghoul that's been fed vampire blood.
Yeah.
It, like,
That's
makes
why
you
they get
bigger
massive.
and
Yeah.
also- yeah. So I think she's probably going to be maybe a 3 or maybe a 4 up. Some of the like Ivia's only a 4 up, but she's probably going to be a 3 or a 4 up. 8 wounds. She's going to be a vampire. She's going to have the 6 up ward, but this is still going to make her pretty killable, right? She's still going to be that. But it does make you feel like you can put her probably, or like it's okay if she's a little exposed.
Yeah. The Time Swallower's Maw ability is pretty scary.
That's also scary. But then I like this. You were talking about this as opportunity costs, right?
Yeah.
More of this opportunity cost, and then you lose the Serpentine agility,
Yeah.
which is very cool to think about using this in like turn 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you're like, okay, I think either I need her to live, and she probably will now because it's late, and I can kind of see what's around. I'm
Yeah.
not too worried. Or you're like, okay, now she can die. But
Yeah, because some armies that ability will wreck them. Like
Yeah.
movement based things, like your Fire Slayer army. Like enjoy your bucket of mortal wounds.
yeah, and it's wounds characteristic too. So yeah, like other death armies, OBR, right?
Yeah.
This is it's a lot.
Yeah, it's scary.
She looks super cool. She's gonna be coming in a box with herself and 3 fell bats and 10 wolves.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how many points she is, and if she's like, is she a 2-caster?
She-
Because like a lot of the heroes they've done with this range, they've been really good. Like
They've
the
been pretty
big
good.
bug guy, the
Yeah.
Kurnoth guy, he's really good.
Yeah.
Ionis Cryptborn's really good.
Yeah.
Usheran, he seems pretty
Seems
decent.
pretty good.
He seems alright.
Okay, before we move on, Amsterdam. I know this guy, super cool dude. He says, would love to be able to run Blood Knights focused Soulblight that is not just the cavalry and zombie dragon. See, he gets it. He's
Yeah, totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, look-
Which subfaction do the True Bloods live in?
None.
No.
They're not like in the lore.
Yeah. Are they
I
like
don't-
affiliated with a?
I don't think they're affiliated with a house.
That seems like such a weird
She,
opportunity.
someone tell me if I'm wrong. Megan might know, or
Because they kind of
actually,
turn into werewolves, so I'm like, are they Virkos?
they
kind
actually,
of.
oh, they literally might have a family keyword. They might actually no.
Because like that's why I love Warcry is that they
It
could
might
just be
be-
like, hey, here's a Legion of Blood unit of vampire knights on foot,
Right.
whatever you want, and like here's the unit.
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
great, awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's such a good way of doing that.
Yeah, I can't remember in the lore or if they have a word. I don't think they have like the Virkros keyword or anything.
Right.
like that.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah. Okay, Steven, we want to talk about 2024. I think when we talk about 2024 and we're talking about Age of Sigmar, obviously the big elephant in the room is 4th edition.
Yes.
We think we're getting 4th edition.
I mean, if we don't, it will be a massive shock to everyone.
It would be hard to not get it because of the way. Oh, okay. Everyone could say, well, we get a new edition every 3 years of both games, both major game
Yes,
systems.
and they've had the same system of there's always a narrative campaign,
Yeah.
like a narrative series of books that kind of moves the story forward before we get a new release of a new
Yeah.
edition. So like that is what we're in right now.
Right. So it would be a shock to just suddenly have like a new Stormcast book and be like, it's still 3rd edition and it's a new. We'd get a new season at the very least, but I think it'd be a shock. So before we talk about 4th edition and what we want to see, what we're hoping,
Yeah.
what else are we gonna see? You and I've said we actually don't know what's gonna happen in the next 6 months.
No.
Presumably more of this. We're being drip fed these adorable little armies of renown.
Yes.
With a cool character, and the characters are actually sizing up a bit too.
Yeah.
Because
I
we
mean,
had
there's been some big ones.
the Sylvaneth dude.
Yeah.
Cryptborn.
Cryptborn's massive.
He's big, and her, right? She's not just your average. I mean, she's pretty big.
Yeah. And like and the last one, what was the last one called? Broken Realms, is that what the second to third edition one was called?
Yeah, the gods.
Yeah, there was like Croak. The new Croak model was there. Marathi. Kragnos.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on.
These are surprisingly cool times.
Yeah, I always like these.
Releases,
I always like these ranges when they do like they fill in some gaps and they do some one-off models. It's always fun.
So, presumably, we're just getting more of this for a few months.
Yeah, I mean, they've said this book is all death.
Yeah.
So this is everything. All death factions get stuff in here, which is probably where your Nighthaunt character is going to come in, because I imagine every faction's going to get a character.
Yeah.
I would love Bone Reapers to also get a character. It seems like maybe we might. So
yeah,
that would be fun.
What kind of Bone Reaper character do you want? I feel like Bone Reapers need units, not characters.
Yeah, they definitely need. Yeah, well, I mean,
Nighthaunt.
So do Nighthaunt and Soulblight. Everyone needs units. They might get a unit, but like I don't know. I would like maybe some kind of like a hero version of the Stalkers, like a Stalker hero, like a big guy, like a construct, but like he's got a character level personality.
Okay.
You know, or like an archer. Like a cool
archer.
Yeah, you know, like
getting a little shooting would be nice.
The Night Judicator, but like a bow guy, like a bone guy.
Yeah,
He'd be cool.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Maybe even give me some skelly griffins. That'd be awesome. Some little skelly bone griffins.
It's like completely unimaginative.
Yeah, it's the exact same guy in the same pose on a rock with two little skelly bone griffins. I'd take that. I'd be like, yeah, great. I'll slam like 3 of him into my army and off we go.
Okay.
So like, yeah, I think we'll see more of those. Now, I don't know where I read it, but I read it somewhere that there's 5 books in this series.
Okay.
So we've got this book that isn't out yet, that's coming, that they're still showing models for.
And then one more.
And then we've got one more.
Okay.
And they can be pretty spread out.
Does anybody know the answer to this out there? Because I actually remember reading that there are 8.
I don't think they do 8.
I don't think so
That
either.
is a load of books. Like, these books are still $50 a pop.
I know, but they're coming out. Again, what you've posted yourself, what's going to get us? Or are we just having a fairly early 4th ed release? Or
well, no, because they'll start. There's always like a 2-month cool off period where they'll announce 4th edition at like Nova.
No, Nova would probably be too late.
Where did they announce 40k?
Probably at LVO.
Was it LVO? Is it that early? I feel like it was like March when they announced 40k.
Oh, that would be then. That if it was March, that would have been Adepticon.
Okay, yeah. So Adepticon. So they'll probably announce Adepticon.
Okay.
And then between that and the release, there won't be anything. That's the kind of hype window where they just talk about new stuff. They drip feed the new model ranges that are coming in the box. So we only really have to get to March.
Okay.
So I think you got 2 books.
Okay.
One of them's not out yet. We'll have one in January, one early March. We're good, right?
Yeah.
Then we're in the hype window, and then it's probably going to be out in June, right?
Okay.
I think they'll follow that same model because it worked very well for 40k. Because then they also get to demo it at, if they do this, the big game show they do in the UK. What used to be, was it Warhammer Fest? Is that what it called? It used to be Games Day when I was a kid.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's Warhammer Fest, and they'll demo the new game there,
Okay.
and they'll have it all there painted, and that's usually early summer, like late May, early June.
So we really only have one more book. Who's getting stuff in the new book?
I mean, I have no idea.
What?
I've been so bad at predicting these books. It's been almost funny.
Who hasn't got anything yet?
Chaos haven't got anything.
No, they got the Harbinger of Decay.
Oh, okay. So Nurgle got what? Yeah, but he's very specifically Nurgle.
He's very specific. Chaos
there's been no real major Chaos stuff.
Okay, so it looks like Death is about to get handled. Fire Slayer's got stuff.
Yep.
Stormcast got stuff.
Yep.
Cities, I guess you could say.
I mean, Chaos might not have anything because Skaven are going to be the 5th book, and they're going to be setting off. Because remember, Kragnos was the final book, and he set off the whole. It's the Age of Destruction.
Right.
You know, if the next book is called like the Horned Rat, I think it basically says like it sets the path for what's going to happen. So I can see the last book being Chaos focused.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I still think it's going
to. I don't see Lumineth getting anything. They're not really relevant in the story right now.
Yeah, it's
Ideneth and Marathi are kind of like they're doing.
I haven't heard anything about Deepkin. There's been a little bit about Marathi.
Well, they took over
cities.
What was the city called?
Not Lethis or Misthaven.
Was it Misthaven?
Misthaven is the
They took that city, they killed everyone, and they took it over and like, this is the new Dark Elf capital.
Okay.
Like, this is my city now. And they did that with the Ideneth.
Oh, okay.
So they have like a tenuous alliance, and we haven't really.
That's not Misthaven. That's a different city, though. Misthaven is a city's a Sigmar city.
Yeah. No,
I forget what the name is, but yeah.
Yeah, because they've done narratives around like the people that survived it have now formed like a guerrilla resistance trying to fight against
Right.
the Canaanites. So maybe they'll do something with that story. But yeah, I don't know. Probably nothing Seraphon. I don't think there is an interesting bit in the Cryptborn story where his whole job from Sigmar was to go into death and try and find the afterlife of the dragons. That was his whole deal.
Oh, weird.
Which is where we met his dragon pal.
Right. Okay.
And he's trying to find the cure for the soul degradation when the Stormcast reforge.
Okay.
Because every time they do it, they kind of lose humanity, and they're sort of, some of them are becoming robots, and some of them becoming like really unhinged.
Okay. Unhinged
Stormcast, and then
Chaos Stormcast.
Maybe
Chaos Stormcast.
Yeah.
Not coming in fourth head.
I mean, Eternus is kind of like a Chaos Stormcast, isn't he?
The box set Stormcast.
Oh, it's just
Chaos Stormcast?
spiky Stormcast versus non-spiky Stormcast. Yeah, sure. Why
It's
not?
happening.
Let's do it. So yeah, maybe there's something there. Like again, that kind of points to death being like more of a major story arc. If like Cryptborn went and tried to find the afterlife of dragons, and maybe he found it, and who knows where that's gonna go.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know. There's lots of open threads. They're very good at masking the path they're walking.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Makes it for a fun.
I think
fun
so
time.
too. We've said this a few times now in the past couple of months, but I really think GW has weirdly sort of gotten a handle on medium and long term leaks.
Yeah.
And I think only short term leaks, which I think is just going to be nearly impossible to get around. Because again, people are really guessing the dumbest stuff.
Yeah.
And it's the low hanging fruit.
Yeah, and that's exciting.
Never did we hear about
No.
a snake lady vampire coming.
No. Or Trug. That's my favorite.
yeah.
Like how did no one hear about Trug?
Yeah.
Trug the Trug.
Right.
Gigantic kit.
Yeah. I it's interesting. So I don't know. I'm optimistic that I'm curious what other factions might get stuff. Looks like Death is settled. Chaos could use a lot. I don't know where you go with Chaos, like where you put.
Well, they've recently done some stuff with like, in the narrative that Vandus Hammerhand is like trying, like he's waging this war in Akshi against Kurgus Call, and like he's like hunting him and he's obsessed with him, and it's kind of causing friction in Hammerhand.
Right.
So maybe they go back to that, and they kind of, again, if they're redoing the original sculpts of the Warrior Chamber and redoing them, it would make sense to kind of just go back and revisit that storyline and like carry that on. But would people be as interested in that? I don't know. I feel like if Def are getting, like, Def have got a lot of stuff in these books, which for me telegraphs that they aren't gonna be the big focus of fourth.
Oh, you think so?
Because they're getting it out of the way. I think if they were going to be like the big thing of fourth, I don't think we'd have had all of this stuff.
Okay, this leads to a big question, which can then, in our last chunk of time here, head towards rules topic.
Yeah.
Where do we think this is going to be set?
Yeah, I mean, so right now the Cities of Sigmar storyline, the Dawnbringer Crusade books are torn between Gur, the Realm of Life, and Akshi, the Realm of Fire.
Gairan.
Gairan, sorry.
Gairan.
And they've said only one of those is going to succeed.
Okay.
Like they said at the beginning of this, that these books are about the journey of these two Dawnbringer Crusades, and only one of them is going to succeed.
Okay.
So whichever one it is, I imagine that's where a lot of the story will centralize around, because it's going to be the reclaiming and repopulating of that realm and the fight to secure it, to make it safe.
So either Gairan or Akshi. So either fire or life. Yeah,
right.
Interesting.
So again,
we've had what? Gur, Shyish, and what was the first one?
Akshi.
Was our Akshi?
Yeah, Akshi was the first one.
So you would probably then feel like it's going to be Gairan?
Yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah.
The fact that we got a new Kurnoth model implies that there's going to be some interesting stuff happening in Gairan. Because the whole thing there is...
This is happening... Sorry, this
is also in Gairan, yeah.
What I'm pointing to is...
The Summer Court is in Gairan.
Yeah, the Summer Court, yeah.
And it's weird that Alariel has actually been kind of involved in a lot of the major story elements of Sigmar from the very beginning. Like, she did the Wave of Life, which then shattered the bonds that cage Kragnos and let him out.
Let Kragnos
out.
Oops.
Yeah, oops. She was the one that she awakened because Nurgle were taking over Gairan in the initial edition, and so her like rise was to try and combat that, and the whole Kurnoth thing is like he can't be reborn until the land is reclaimed. So like maybe they're gonna push Nurgle out and reclaim it, but then a new threat's gonna emerge, and that's gonna be the thing that Kurnoth has to rise to counter. So yeah, there's a lot of story stuff happening in Gairan.
Yeah.
The Stormcast novels that I think Josh Reynolds wrote them.
Okay.
They also take place in
centered around. Yeah.
One's in Gairan, one's in Shaiish.
Okay.
So yeah, there's always been a lot of story stuff going on in Gairan that they haven't laser focused on.
Okay.
So maybe 4th edition is the time.
What kind of rules do we get out of being set in Gairan?
Yeah, I don't know. I would imagine like just passive healing in the battlefields. Okay. Terrain that moves or changes.
Okay, that'd be interesting.
Because it's meant to be this like
verdant,
like this this overgrown wild woods that can like shift and change. It's a very magical realm, so maybe some crazy magic stuff's gonna happen. So yeah, I think there's lots of possibilities if it is Gairan.
Okay, here's what I'm thinking. I'd like to point out. Let's talk about some things. I usually spring the topic on Steven either Sunday or sometimes Monday morning.
Yeah.
Give him the day to think about it. But I didn't ask you for, Steven, what don't you like about 3rd Ed that you'd like to see changed in 4th Ed? We think, rules-wise, we think that it's very likely that 4th is comes from the bones of 3rd. We don't picture a refresh.
No, I think that's what everyone's hoping.
9th to 10th.
Yeah,
they just
there's no real signs that they need to upend the edition.
Yeah, people genuinely like this edition.
Yeah, the data is good. It's solid. There's good balance. It would be really weird to just flip all that off the table and start again. Because like they've over the edition, there's been ups and downs, but they've got it to a place where most of the factions live within the sweet spot of balance that they want.
Right.
So like, yeah, why break it?
Why mess it up?
Yeah.
Okay, but what I did do is because we talk, I went ahead and came up with some things that we're like, hey, maybe this could change. Now, one of them here, Monstrous Rampage / Heroic Actions, I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I'm just guessing we'll get changing them. I wouldn't be surprised to see new ones. The other 3 things, though, are things that you and I have talked about that are like, this is a thing we would be interested in maybe changing. Holy Within, I think for me, honestly, has actually become the big one.
Right.
Holy Within is maybe my least favorite part of 3rd Ed Sigmar.
Is that because you started playing an army with actual complexity now and this matters?
Well, Daughters did too, but Daughters had these kind of R's as well.
Yeah.
But to some degree, you do notice it more.
It matters a lot with cities,
It matters a lot with cities.
There really is a lot.
And what's so funky about it with cities is that the order system is not Holy Within. It's just within 3.
Yeah, and I think that inconsistency is where a lot of the problems come out.
Right. In general, the inconsistency, because as I've been training, playing with Brad, who's learning, and Saray and Megan, in general, you can usually say if it's your own unit, it's holy. Typically, if you're doing something to an enemy unit, it's not
within,
holy.
yeah.
It's not. Usually that works, but it doesn't always work.
No, it's not consistent.
Even Coalesce Seraphon. If a single Coalesce Seraphon is contesting an objective, they get +1 to save.
Yep.
Saurus words, right?
Yep.
I think that's not Coalesce, that's just Saurus words, right?
Yeah, that's Saurus words, yeah.
So, I mean, even that is wild, right? Meanwhile, the city's book has got Holy Within and Within.
Yeah.
I've said I would like things to change to a Within. Drop Holy Within. I don't know how there's no easy way to do that other than roll it out book by book.
I would just blanket statement. If there's a thing that says range, it means within, and ignore Holy Within until they get the books rolled out.
But would that not almost be too powerful then with some of these abilities?
Not really, because I think where it matters is it's a real gotcha for new players because you have to move things to keep within Holy Within ranges, and sometimes you're like a model out, and it's like, and then it turns the whole ability off. I think it's just more of an ease of play quality of life change to just be like, look, if your character is within range of the unit, they get the ability, like the unit's in range. It just makes it easier because then you don't have to. The measurements aren't as finicky, and yeah, you might get some competitive players argue like, well, that changes things at the top tables for like hyper competitive players. But I would argue that those people aren't making those mistakes anyway.
Right? Where do you? Why does it? Why do they do Holy Within?
Because Holy Within effects are usually more powerful, and the ranges are usually more constrained.
You want to have, but could you not just make the range short? Could you not just make the range?
Yeah, you could totally do that.
Right.
You could totally make those adjustments. I think the other thing as well, which goes up to one of the other points, is adding foot characters to units.
Right. Okay.
So
a
lot of these abilities,
you want to see.
Yeah, because a lot of these abilities are single foot heroes giving really powerful buffs to units around it. And good players can usually set it up where they might be giving that buff to 2 units rather than 1.
You'd actually rather see him just give it to 1?
I would rather them just get rid of the range entirely and just be like, this character has a really powerful effect, which is why you're paying 120, 150 points for them, and you attach them to the unit, and then that unit has the effect.
Right, which is not an unknown system, right?
No.
For the longest time, 40k, and now 40k is back to
Yeah, and it works really well. It's a really... Because you don't ever have to think about, oh, is my character in range?
Yeah.
Can they be sniped? Like,
no, by the way...
Have I mispositioned?
You and I, not 40k players currently, not playing a lot of 10th Ed, I did find out that you cannot leave.
Right, yeah.
You can't leave. So,
unless the unit's wiped out, and then you become independent.
Okay,
again.
so, but historically, even in 40k, like, for example, in 5th Ed, Warhammer 40,000, you could
yeah, you can. I think I was thinking Heresy, because Heresy you can't just bow out of a unit.
Yeah, right. So
But it adds an extra layer of tactical choice. It's like, which unit do I want to give this effect to? Like, who do I want to attach it to? And I think that could be something...
Do you decide at the start of the game?
Yeah, I don't think you have to decide in list building. I think you can decide who you're attaching to. And I think that gives us an extra layer of tactical depth to play with that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I'm going to attach this character to this unit this time, and that's going to make it different.
Yeah, and I also think it makes an interesting space for some characters to be differentiated from other characters. And by that I mean, for example... talking ogres, right? Slaughter or butcher
guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's cool to add, or a tyrant. You know,
Yeah.
you add your tyrant to your gluttons. That glutton unit is like almost as cool now as lead iron guts, right?
Yep.
But then you've also got the Bloodpelt Hunter, and he's like totally pointless to add to a unit.
Yeah, and I don't think, I wouldn't want to see like mages and priests suddenly become like, oh, you have to attach them to units. I think there should be some units that do give buffs out and they kind of stay independent and they move around. And I'm not saying get rid of auras. Like, it'd be cool to see auras end up being on like banner bearers, and like you've got a champion, he's got his banner.
I mean that you are once again describing Seize of Sigmar, right? That they have the command core.
Yeah.
Banner,
so like like I think some things can still be auras. I'm not saying get rid of auras entirely, but I think a lot of the issues and power problems and Holy Withins come from the fact that some characters just have really powerful effects.
Yeah.
And I think the best way to balance those is to make it where they only affect one unit that they're attached to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think there's definitely levers and things that they can play with from the design side that will allow them to keep exploring heroes and unit buffs and range buffs that could be interesting and that would help differentiate armies from each other. Like, some armies could be really aura-based. Some armies could be not aura-based.
It's crazy to me that a High Gladiatrix, like, that's just obviously put her in the unit.
Yeah.
I mean, whenever I play Daughters, I literally buy a High Gladiatrix for every Witch Elf unit.
Yeah.
And she
just sits in the middle of the unit. and she just sits there and, they just move around.
Yeah. Big thanks to John McCardle. We have flashing lights. Thanks, John.
Thanks,
gifting
John.
20 memberships.
Wow.
John, excited to see John at LVO. You get to meet him.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
LVO. If you are, by the way, before we chat a little bit more about this, if you're not in our Discord, join our Discord. We're gonna do a little hang at LVO. So if you're not in our Discord, join it. And the link is on the front of the YouTube page. And we'll see you at LVO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See you at the bottom tables.
Yeah. I probably for me. I don't know about you. You always say that, but okay. So other things. Let's chat. Yeah, I'm. But before we move on, I'm a little ambivalent on whether I want characters to be able to dip in. For sure, I want reduced ranges. I want 9 inches to be wow. That's very good. Like within 9, right? Maybe a general issuing a command is within 12 now. Like,
I think commands can. I like the way the command structure works. Like your general has 18, your heroes have
Me-
12. That
me
feels
too.
good. Like I never feel like that's.
Me too, but
I have to think
I'm
about
just saying
it.
I kind of want the ranges to drop a bit.
Yeah, but I think
I don't know if they need to, but it
I feel like
feels
your leaders, like they should definitely be able to have range on giving out commands.
giving out commands. Yeah.
Because I would also like to see commands taken away from unit champions.
Oh, really?
I want it to be a hero thing.
Wow.
I don't like that champions can give out the
Oh.
same orders that like
That's
heroes
that's
and
interesting.
leaders can.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I just think it would make for interesting.
And then that's another reason to put a foot character in.
Yeah, exactly, and
Yeah.
it means you gotta keep your leaders around more.
Foot characters might have to go drop in price a little bit for that to be a thing.
Possibly, I am a little. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these rules changes will depend on. I am scared about armies getting bigger because I don't want armies to get bigger. Like
Me either. I like
40k armies are massive.
I know
They
the
are
problem
huge.
is it's crazy actually in comparison. The problem is that once you give this ability to put a hero in a unit,
Mm-hmm.
that so many of them take the High Gladiatrix. Let's say that this becomes a thing. The High Gladiatrix, for those who don't know, changes the characteristic of a witch elf, changes their wound roll from hitting on 4 or wounding on 4 to wounding on 3.
Yeah.
It's not +1 to wound.
Yeah.
Changes the characteristic.
Yep.
And also changes the characteristic of their rend.
Yeah, she's
Right.
amazing.
Incredibly amazing.
Ridiculous.
90 points.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, I still can't believe she's 90 points.
No, and she ain't if she gets cheaper, I'm a riot because
Yeah.
there's no way that could be cheaper.
So, but imagine you wouldn't take a unit of witch elves without also taking a High Gladiatrix. So
No.
I mean, currently I'm paying that price anyway. I'll take 3 units of witch elves and have 2 High Gladiatrixes currently, and I'll figure that they can cover between the 2 of them. They can cover the 3 spots, right?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't take. You know what I mean? Same with Alchemite Warforger, right? For cities, you really wouldn't take. There's a lot of units you wouldn't. I mean, he's a wizard, so it's kind of hard to know, but there's a lot of units you wouldn't take anymore unless you took that foot hero. So, of course, Games Workshop and people are going to say, no, you can still take them. But, you know what I mean? And I think that 40k is having that problem, right? There's some units that you're going to take one of them, and you can take the one character. If you want a second unit of that, then you need to take that character again.
Or you make that unit bigger.
Or you make it bigger, or ideally, you put a different character in that makes it operate a little differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like my Witch Elves with High Gladiatrix, they're cool in this way. My Witch Elves with Hag Queen, they're cool in this way.
Yeah.
Right? But you're going to really, a lot of armies, people are going to be like, I mean, I need Mortrak Guard. Like, are you going to make Mortrak Guard so that they just don't need a character?
Well, yeah.
Or are you going to make Mortrak Guard? Like, it's going to swing
Bowmans
hard.
are weird because they don't have all their foot heroes are wizards.
Yes, but they have guys that maybe could be cooler, like the sickle dude that nobody takes.
Yeah, the Reaper.
Right, he could actually be interesting.
I love that model. I wish he was.
It's such
was
a cool. It's
interesting.
probably the coolest model.
It is.
Right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very curious how you put foot heroes in units and then set it up that some people would be like, I guess It seems like you always want them in, unless it's zombies.
No, I think I don't know.
Zombies are horror example. You always want to foot heroes.
Yeah, you are
Zombies too.
Necromancer. Yeah. No, it's a big design space, and it would change a lot of things. So again, it's like, I would like to see, again, like what they did with monsters. They looked at monsters for 3rd edition, like monsters aren't efficient enough. They aren't doing what we want them to do.
Right.
We got to give them new rules, and they became awesome. And monsters are great. Everyone loves monsters. Heroes need that treatment, I think.
Yeah,
We need like heroic actions are cool, they're fine, but again, I don't want any more. I would also love to see the hero phase streamlined and refined.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I like what 40k did where they got rid of a phase entirely and just put stuff happening in different phases.
Mm-hmm.
I think they could do some stuff like that with the hero phase to
Would
stop
you
it
want
bloating.
that? Would you want that? Would you want magic?
Yeah, because the hero phase is so bloated.
Yeah.
There's so much going on in the hero phase.
I
You got your leader abilities, you've got your command abilities, you've got your prayers, your spells, you've got your tactic to pick, you've got there's so much going on.
Yeah, I think I like the little magic battle though.
Yeah,
Did
but
we
you
not
could
like-
you could have that magic battle happen. It just would happen over the course of the game.
over the course of the turn?
Yeah, so
All right.
like, oh, I'm gonna do a movement spell. It happens in the movement phase. I'm gonna roll my dice. You're gonna roll your dice. We're
Right.
gonna maybe we'll add primal dice to it if that's the thing that's gonna stay.
Right.
And you just do it in the phase where it matters.
Yeah.
Because it would also mean that you wouldn't know exactly what you were going to be able to do in a turn. If you're like, okay, I know I want to do this, but I don't get to roll those dice until I'm in that phase, I might not get it off.
Right.
It changes the dynamic of how you perceive your turn, which I think is also kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely interesting. All right, the final thing I want to talk about, Steven, before we wrap up for the year, is how are you feeling about terrain? We said, listen, if this does take place in Guyran, terrain could be super interesting.
Yeah, I go back and forth on terrain because I just like that terrain isn't an extra layer of stuff I have to remember all the time, but at the same time, it just feels like it doesn't do anything on the board.
Yeah.
So again, I don't want them, very much like all of this, again, I love where 3rd edition is, and I think it's a blast to play, and I have very few complaints with the game. It's more like, what could be improved? And I think terrain is one of those things, like, yeah, it's fine now, like, it works. You know, a lot of the times you roll your dice for your mystical terrain, then you forget it ever happened, and no one uses it, and you just go through the whole game.
Or
and
you
it doesn't happen.
or you absolutely remember Arcane and
yeah, you remember the
Mystical.
1 or 2 that are amazing,
Right.
right? And I would like to see them, you know, make terrain matter more on the board.
Mhm.
But to what extent, I don't know. I'm not a designer. That's their job.
Yeah, I think somehow I would actually weirdly kind of encourage seeing more negative space. We can do that. We can choose to do that as players right now.
Sure.
We can put larger impassables.
And I do like how terrain has kind of evolved in tournaments, whereas like you get so many pieces, X number Y. Some places now just auto settle the board, and I love that. I'm
the
like,
tournament
great.
scene is being done. They're handling.
Yeah, I love that.
They're taking what has been given to them and doing a good job with
Yeah,
it. I think.
and so I think, you know, just giving them more tools to make terrain feel more like part of the battle.
Yeah.
And make it feel like it matters, and it's not just that's just a line of sight blocker, that's just a movement blocker, and that's it. Like make
Right.
it feel more like, you know, it's actually part of the battle.
Yeah. Yeah, I've said before that, and maybe this will happen, but I'm not holding my breath. I would actually like to see city elements of Sigmar, because I don't know, I just think the idea of like trying to sack a city, right? Like antiquity are these armies from, you know, inspired really from antiquity,
Yeah.
sacking these cities that are also inspired from antiquity, right?
Yeah.
How cool would it be to play like the daughters back when they were doing boxes of 2 armies? The daughters Night Haunt list was a Night Haunt trying to sack a daughters
Yeah.
city, right? Or daughters trying to sack a city, or ogres trying to sack, or a death, right? Like this idea sounds fun to be running up and down streets, have rules for buildings.
I think also as well, if terrain has more of an impact, it also impacts what you want to take in your army. Like if terrain becomes a big thing, you might want more flying units in your army, and then they have a real strategic value to them rather than just being, well, they're just quick.
Or units that have some sort of perk. Like, again, I'm going back to my city fighting dream.
Yeah.
That's mine. Yours is a vampire foot hero every month next
Oh,
year.
yeah, no, that's what I want.
Mine
yeah.
is...
Just a subscription. Just
Just
send
a
me a new
subscription.
vampire every month that I'm never going to build or play with, that has garbage rules that don't do anything. I'll just put them in a box forever.
I want some kind of building rules. I want to be able to like go into a building.
Yeah, expanding on the garrisoning stuff would be fun.
Yeah. And making units like night goblins on foot, steel helms, making those kind of units like weirdly start to punch above their weight when they're sitting when they're like going into a building, like right, like as opposed to Necropolis stalkers, right? They're not super good at hanging out in the building,
No.
right? But like these little guys are like.
Although they're also very good at just destroying a building and anything that's inside.
Sure,
it. I
of
once
course.
charged a unit of stalkers into a group of. I think it might have even been goblins in a building. 20 of them.
Yeah,
and
no,
I just
that's
went into the
nothing.
building and
Of
just
course,
murdered
that's-
everything
yeah,
and the
nothing.
building.
That's like would be interesting. All right, closing our poll here. I think people seem to think it's Skaven. I do love how we had Skaven in first by a long shot, but I do love that I've begun to put that doubt in people's mind that it might be just a whole dynasty, a whole legion of Soulblight.
I mean, my money is on Skaven for sure. If it's not Skaven, I don't think it's Soulblight. I just can't.
I mean,
I can't fathom a world where it's Soulblight. I'm like, what is happening? They're like the Lumineth of death. They get a new release every
I
year.
don't know. It's a really popular army.
But that's why they don't need to do a star box for it, because it's already a popular army. Like, they want to I think Crew Boys went down a treat. I think everyone, even though they aren't great, I think everyone loved the fact that we had this new style of orc army that was really cool and different.
Okay.
I think they are going to learn from that, and I think we will get something we aren't expecting that's very new and a very different take on something.
Oh, so
I don't think it's going to be vampires.
Maybe not even Skaven, you're saying?
I think if it's Skaven, it's going to be like, we have never seen Skaven like these before.
It's like a new clan.
Like a new reimagining of Skaven. Yeah. Like
I think
I know a completely new subfaction within a book that we haven't even it could be Kurnothi. You talk about order, it could be the Kurnoth who are sacking cities because they don't want civilization, they want nature. Cities, so they're like, well, guess what? We're coming to destroy you, and the Stormcast are sent to repel them.
Yeah. Real helpful hippie.
Yeah. So I could see that, because the Kurnoth, and the way they're described they are fanatics, they are zealots, and they will destroy everything.
Yeah. I totally that would be interesting. But I think you're right. I would not be surprised to see it be some just kind of something we're not really predicting.
Order v Order would be cool, because we haven't had that yet. We've had Order versus every other major faction. Order v Order would be really interesting. I also
think that you kind of need to think, what does that box look like in the store for a 10-year-old?
Yeah, which is why I'm like, Kurnothi are monstrous enough where if you're looking at it, you're not like, why are the men with guns and armor fighting the men with guns and armor? You're like, oh man, the guys in shiny armor are fighting these crazy monsters.
Right. And that is, so I'll admit, I'm going to catch some flack here, because I've been on record as being like, on orcs sometimes. And I've always been a little on Skaven. I know people love them.
Oh my god, Skaven are like people's fan favorites.
People love
they're crazy
Skaven.
And fun and loony and
I've never been into it, so I do recognize that as I'm saying what I'm about to say, and it could be a factor of why I'm saying it, of course. But it's just that box of these golden men fighting these little rat men.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if that's what it would look like.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Right, it could be like more rat ogres.
Yeah, they might lean into the they've always kind of had like a samurai vibe. They might make the rats slightly bigger and give them proper armor and make them look kind of badass. You know, and they might new rat ogres.
A whole new, or like you're saying, it's a whole new clan.
A rat leader riding like a big monstrous rat or something. Again, that I think that.
Like a Pluto Goofy situation.
Where... Yeah. No, more like, that exact same pose that like the White King has and Eternus has, like that, but a big rat with a little rat on top, right? That hero, the hero with the Napoleon pose, right? Just give the rat version. In fact, no, make it Rat Napoleon. I want him to have the same hat and everything, a pistol in one hand, a sword in the other, Rat Napoleon.
Too far.
Rat Napoleon leading his rat legions.
Oh my gosh.
It'd be great. Yeah. With Warplock Jezzails. Just like, give me Napoleonic rat men. That's what I want now.
Rat men. Yeah, that would be wild.
Fighting some Greek demigods that are actually kind of rubbish.
Oh my gosh. Hey, awesome. Anything else for the year?
No, I just think, it's been kind of a crazy year, like our journey, like getting here, we were doing some at Titans, and then I started doing that, and now we're here doing Hobby Collab, and we've done the show, and it's been a lot of fun. But I think the hobby's grown a lot, and I feel like, Age of Sigmar just keeps getting better and stronger and more exciting and more engaging, and there's more content out there now. So yeah, I think it's a good time, I think, to be an AOS hobbyist, and I'm excited for next year and the next edition, hopefully.
If you were going to tell people at home right now, you're going to say, okay, cool, you want to get into AOS.
Yeah.
What army would you tell people? Give me 3 armies that you're like probably not going to get touched in the new year, but still at a cool spot.
Wait, so armies that aren't going to get touched in the new year...
Yeah, because people might not want to get like Skaven because they're this is going to happen.
Because they might get a refresh. Okay, so Seraphon.
Because
it's dinosaurs riding dinosaurs. I'm like, there is no more sales pitch.
Probably not getting much more stuff.
No,
lots of ways to build the army.
Yeah, I think they've had all theirs that they're getting.
Okay, Seraphon.
So they'd be close to the top. Yeah. I'm trying to vary it up a little bit. New players starting out. I'd probably put Slanesh on there,
Yeah.
They're a hard army, but I think there's a very cool aesthetic to them that I think will appeal to people from
Okay.
like a hobby project. Like, you don't really spam units in the army. They got a few cool centerpieces. They've got the demons you can splash in. I think they're a fun looking army,
Yeah.
and they're a fun project. And then I think probably maybe.
I'm gonna make you do 2 more, one from each sub faction now, or from each.
All right, okay. So I'll do my
So
destruction
give me-
one now. Gits.
Gits, okay.
I think Gits have had
Squigs.
more
you do
bit Squigs.
Squigs has been pretty flushed out.
Squigs with some splashing of trogs,
Yeah.
because we all know spiders are not anything. And they're
Spiders
just
aren't
dead.
good, and eventually they'll get a.
Yeah, no, they're dead now. They're going to be not in the next book.
They're gonna be the next 5th ed. They're gonna be the 5th ed box set.
Oh, okay, right, okay. Well, you keep dreaming about that.
Seeing a Stormcast.
Actually,
seeing a Stormcast on the box wrestling a
speaking
spider.
of something we might see, I could totally see them doing a Spider Rider hero character in this series.
Heck yeah!
Just like,
Of course.
here's a random
that
Spider
box.
Rider.
That box. I mean, that kit. The spider guy. That's the one kit that's like not the Arachnarok. That kit's amazing.
Yes.
And the little spiders need an update, but they're not awful. You can make them work.
Yeah, they're alright.
You can make them work. But the one that's in the middle,
Yeah, I would do a new one of them.
That thing is hideous. Yeah.
So Gits would be my destruction army, because you can just like, there's loads of, they've done that Christmas box set like twice now, and there's loads of start collecting. So like, yeah, go get Squigs. Squigs are great fun.
Who's your death army?
Death army would probably be Soulblight.
You gotta say Soulblight.
Yeah, because it's so classic. It's like, you want to do vampires with zombies and skellybobs and werewolves and all that jazz. Like, here you go. And if you want to get weird with it, here's the Virkos lot, who are just weird.
No, I like those picks. And the nice thing about Soulblight is there's a very good chance. I said no army that's getting a refresh, but Soulblight might get a nice addition at the 4th ed box set.
Yeah, but they're not going to though.
Yeah,
they might get a Warcry warband. A new one.
Of course they'll get at least a Warcry and Underworld.
But I think the big death focus now is going to be on Usheran and the Flesh Eater. Right? And I think they're going to get a lot of love and attention, and rightly so, because that range looks awesome.
It does.
I don't even know if we've seen the whole range yet. I don't know. I wonder if there might be more. Obviously, the book is out, and that's done. But I could see them doing a second wave in like a year or two.
In the Cities book, it's weird. When we'll wrap up here in a second, but in the Cities book, you're kind of following this Fusilier new recruit.
Yeah.
And they're fighting Flesh Eater courts. Like that's like.
Well, yeah, because in the Flesh Eater book, a lot of the artwork is them fighting cities.
Yeah. So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Sweet.
Folks, have a good holiday.
Yeah.
Hang out, get some games in. We're gonna get some games in, and we'll see you guys in the new year.
Yeah.
Bye.
Take care.